no, you don't join us, you subscribe, then you have officially joined us. Now let's get to the question. The question, it was question 11, and then it says, after traveling a distance of 20 kilometers from home, a person suddenly remembers that he did not close a tap in his garden. He decides to turn around immediately and return home to close the tap. So this question, it is going to talk about the cost, okay? Because they said the cost of water, or the cost of water at the rate at which water is flowing out of the tap is 1 rand and 60 cents per hour. So in 1 hour, he's going to lose water of approximately 1.6 rand and 60 cents over there. And then again, the cost of petrol is given as that rands per kilometers. Okay, so every kilometer is going to spend that cost of petrol. And then where the average, or where X is the average speed in kilometers per hour. Okay, fine. Let's read what they are asking for. Okay, that was just the information. They say calculate the average speed at which the person must travel home to keep his cost as low as possible. Okay, to explain this question, what is happening here? We have a person. This guy is actually maybe moving from his home here. This is the home of a person, and then maybe the person is going to a workplace over there. So that is maybe the workplace. Let me say this work, and then this home. When the person is almost at this point, let's say this is the person. He have his car over there. He have his car. Okay, whatever. So in this distance, the distance between home and that place is approximately 20 kilometers. All right, fine. So now, don't forget that he's losing two things. In his home, he's losing water because he have to pay for water. You have the cost of water. Again, to travel, he also use petrol. Cost of petrol, petrol is very high in terms of the price over there. So he's losing two things. The cost that he has to keep as low as possible must contain two things. The first thing is the water. The second thing is what? Is the petrol. Okay. So now the question clearly indicated calculate the average speed at which the person must travel home. Must travel where home. We don't care about the cost that he actually lost when the cost of petrol when he was going. We care about the one where he's going back home now. Okay, when he's going back home, and so on and so on. So now, to do this question, I will break it down into the two sections over there. I'll talk about the two sections. Okay, when he's going home, we're still going to consider that water is still moving out of the tap, and then he is still using the petrol. So we have to to find that cost first. That's what we need. So that means in that case, X is your average speed, okay? And that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the value of X in simple terms, okay? So now that means you're going to say, okay, cost of water. To find the cost of water, you actually have to, when you're talking about the cost of water, you actually have to talk about the relationship between that one, which is the cost of water at which water is flowing out of the tap, and also you must relate it to the distance and the speed, which gives you the time. And simple. Maybe you might not understand what I'm saying. Okay, let me do it on the side here. You have, from that formula, that you have a formula which says D is equal to ST. This is how I know it. And then that means if I'm looking for my time, I'm going to substitute the distance, which is 20 kilometer. My speed is actually X, and then I have T. So my T is actually 20 over X. Okay, now what you're going to do, if you take this time and then you also multiply it, and the cost is in per hours. Okay, the cost is in per hours. So that means you have to multiply the time and the rent that you are given over there. So which means you are going to come here and say 1.60 multiplied by 20 over the x. Okay, so this is actually the cost of water that is here he has to pay in this case, because for every hour, for every single hour, he's losing 1.60, but we don't know how long he took to get home. Okay, so that's why we're just going to multiply over there. So okay, fine. What about the petrol? What about the petrol? For the petrol, we're going to apply the same thing. For petrol, we know, okay, the cost of petrol. For petrol, we know that this guy over here, this guy over here, this is actually the cost of petrol, as in 1.6 rand over there. We can consider this thing and this one being the same, okay? But now they said it is rands per kilometer. In 1 kilometer, if for every kilometer that he traveled, he spent that much. He spent that much. So which means, how long did he travel, or how long does he have to travel? He have to travel for how long? For 20 kilometer. That is the distance that he need to travel to get home. So which means you're going to say 20 multiplied by 1.2 plus x over 400 over there. Okay, so now we are done, we are good, we can formulate our equation. The cost of everything, the cost, it's actually the cost will be the summation of this, of the summation of this and this. You just have to add those two things, and then that is 1.60 into 20 over the x plus 20 into 1.2 plus x over 400. The reason why we have to add them, because the first payment or the first cost that you will have to pay is for the water. The second one for the petrol. So that's why we're adding two of them. So having done that, or having did this, you must know, or when you know by now that, okay, fine, what is it that we want? We want to keep the cost as low as possible. Once it is as low as possible, it must be the minimum. Okay, and to find the minimum and maximum, we talk about the first derivative being equal to a zero. Then you're done with the question, you just solve for x from there. Okay, fine. But first thing first, let's first simplify this thing. This is going to be I think 1.6 multiplied by 20. I think we're going to get we simply get 32 over x, and then 20 multiplied by 1.2, we're going to just get 24, and then 20 multiplied by x over 400, we're going to get x over 200 over there. So now, having done this, or having did this, till now what we're going to do, or the thing that we're supposed to do, we're supposed we can't apply derivation when you have a denominator of x. So which means the first thing first, we're going to take away that guy. Okay, we're going to take away that guy, and that means we're going to have x at 32, x minus 1 plus 24 plus x over 200 over there. So this is what I have now. Now I can apply my derivation cost. So which means I'm going to say cost in terms of x, or the derivation of the derivation. First derivation will be negative 32 x minus 2, and then the derivation of 24 will just be 0, and then that means it's plus. What about this one? When I derivate this one, don't forget that I have a power of 1. I will take that power here, and then I minus 1, so which means x to the power of 0, it is just equal to 1. So I'm left with 1 over 200 over there. So now I must equate my first derivation to a 0. First derivative must be equal to 0 for minimum and maximum. So now, because I'm talking about a minimum, I'll say the cost x must be equal to 0. This is for minimum. So that means I have 0 is equal to negative 32. I'll just take this back and have x squared plus 1 over a 200 over there. So then I take this to the other side, and then I have 32 over x squared is equal to 1 over a 200 over there. So from there, I apply cross multiplication. This one will multiply that one, and this one will multiply that one. I have x squared is equal to 400. And then I just apply square root both sides. And then I have x being equal to plus or minus 80. Now we're talking about the average speed. The average the average speed. And you know that speed is a scalar. It can be it only has the magnitude, no direction. So, which means to be on the safe side, you can just say negative 80 because it's going back. But okay, we are only talking about something that has magnitude, no direction. So when I just choose what to do, but to be on the safe side, without applying physics or science, we can just say our speed is 80 kilometer per hours. Okay, so that is what they wanted. But the very important thing is to remember in terms of the cost, take note of the units they're talking about. Okay, what I saw is that here they're talking about hours. That is why I multiply that rand and hours. Here they're talking about kilometers. That is why I multiply that rand and what and the distance over there. And thank you for watching.